that we had feedback last time? All right, John, are we up and running, ready to get started?
We should be.
Okay.
Is the video on the house start?
This should be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we gotta get that set.
All right, well, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7:03.
Wait, I'm gonna object to that until they can hear. Can they hear us through the L?
Can everybody hear us? All right. How about now? That's not going to work. All right. I'll just speak loudly if I can. John, is there a way to turn up the volume on the microphone?
Yeah. The owl should be picking us up now.
Can you guys hear us through the L? Are you recording the Zoom meeting? Are you recording the Google Meet meeting?
Yes, the stream is live right now.
Awesome, sweet.
All right, very good. We're ready to start. We'll call it to order at 7:04. Has everybody read the agenda, and is there anything you want to add? Well, I have a couple things I want to add to the agenda here. We have the PRA discussion is already on the agenda, but we also want to add new region discussion. We are now in a new region. We'll put that into. Okay. John, is there a mechanism on there to turn the volume up?
Not to turn our volume up. I'm afraid if the volume output isn't high enough, that it's not.
All right. If I use the microphone on my computer, it creates a horrible feedback. We'll take a short recess until John has that figured out.
Reset and see if that doesn't work.
Would you like me to move the L closer to the lane? That's what I was thinking.
We might give that a go, yeah.
So I just want to like make sure
You're on your feet. I'm lazy.
solid audio.
Engineering requires simple solutions for complex problems.
Could you also, while you're over there, would you power cycle that? The power button is right in that notch at the bottom.
We're going to do a formation of a committee to determine which candidates to support. And we'll talk about that in more detail as we get to those items. So we have a couple guests here tonight. Would you please, Mr. Atkin?
Could we add an item to review the email addresses to be deleted from the Gmail accounts so that we can save some money?
Yep. Okay. We have a couple guests here. We'll start first off with Mr. Lutz. Everybody knows you, Daniel, but please identify yourself for those that don't know you yet.
I'm Daniel Lutz. I'm from Clear Creek County, and I am the candidate for House District 49.
Okay. Daniel, why don't you go ahead and give us your presentation now? You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Who? Daniel? or-
Yeah, go ahead and do it, Daniel.
Well, as everyone saw, I sent out an email to the board earlier, kind of laying out some of the things that I'm planning on doing with my campaign. And I am reaching out to the party for financial support to kind of give these things a kick in the backside, get me out there ahead of the competition. Thus far, I've raised just under $1,000 myself in the campaign. This would, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, would give me a huge boost in what I'm doing. The advertising plan that I've laid out, if you check and see, those cover the vast majority of my populated area within my district. I did want to give a full disclosure. One of the shows I am advertising on is the Pink Flame of Liberty, which is hosted by Karen Ann Harlos, the wife of our chair, Wayne Harlos. So no one thinks anything fishy is going on there. I've been advertising actually on her show since I started this campaign, since right after the convention. If you guys give this support, it's not going to sit in an account somewhere. It is going to do something. It is going to spread the message of liberty, and it is going to give a huge boost to getting me into Denver. I'm in a 3-way race. It's not going to be an easy race, but it is absolutely a winnable race.
The incumbent is a Democrat?
No incumbent, technically. There is one of the people who is running, the Democrat who is running, Judith Mobley, I hope I'm saying her name right, is the sitting representative for District 13, but because of the redraw, she is not technically an incumbent, because this district covers a wider area than what she did before.
Okay. Any questions of Daniel? Thank you, Daniel. Go ahead, Gavin.
Yes, absolutely. My Republican competition, this is his first time running in a race. He actually lives in the same county that I do, so he and I are going to have a little bit of home turf battle there. But he is very green in politics. I believe he's kind of having what is referred to as a "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore" moment. Which is very understandable. I think a lot of us can sympathize with that. My Democrat candidate, Judith Mobley, is the sitting representative for District 13. She was elected to 13 in the I want to say the 2020 cycle, potentially the 2018. She's got a little bit of experience in campaigning, but District 13 was pretty solidly Democrat, so they didn't do a whole lot of campaigning. That being said, she has inside knowledge on the legislature, so full disclosure, that will be an uphill battle, but one I think that we can absolutely do.
Mr. Atkins?
What are the voter registration numbers in your district?
As far as for libertarians?
Libertarians, Democrat, Republican, and unaffiliated.
I'm still trying to pull all of those numbers with this redrawn district. It's a lot of what I'm finding is the old 49 numbers, but I'm pulling from the the county clerks in each of the 4 counties within my district, all of the libertarian numbers. It's in all the research that I've done, Colorado politics gives Democrats about a 33% advantage over Republicans in this new district with the information that they have. But there's, as with most, there is always going to be more independent and more disenfranchised voters than those that are strictly partisan aligned.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Lutz?
Absolutely. My web address is www.lutz, L-U-T-Z, for 49, F-O-R, the number 49.org. And that's, it should also be, that website should also be on the state parties page as well already.
Is that on the new, state party page yet, David?
Yes, I believe it is.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Daniel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Absolutely, thank you. I would appreciate that, thank you. Well, and in particular for the t-shirts, I would love to get with someone who could do some designs, because right now it's only text that I have for that, so. I was drawing some stick figures, but they didn't come out too well.
Thank you, Aaron. Before we
Thank you.
Before we go to our next two guests, we're going to go ahead and take our roll call. Mr. Secretary, would you go ahead and take our roll call, please?
Chair is here. Vice Chair. I'm here, Secretary. Treasurer. Affiliates.
Here.
Communications. Campaigns. Fundraising. Legislative. And our outreach is vacant right now. And so is membership. Is membership here? Is Mr. Ciesco here? Yep, awesome. Cool. That's everybody.
Okay. We have a quorum. We'll go to our next guest, Mr. Atwood.
Good evening. I'm your liaison to Center Right Coalition that meets here in the morning at 9 o'clock. You're all welcome to check in with me or with the chair and be a guest at Center Right Coalition. The basic ground rules at Center Right Coalition is what's said here stays here, but what is distributed, they'd like distributed further. I'll start with a gun show in Colorado Springs. I'll continue with a Kendrick's Ale tapping for the STEM in honor of one of the fatalities at the STEM shooting last year. Another is the Colorado scorecard, a Liberty scorecard done by the Liberty Caucus, Republican Liberty Caucus. A third one is the candidate running against Ken Buck, a person by the name of Rob Lewis. Last one that had quite a bit of emphasis on it is the Firearms Coalition of Colorado recognizes that the limiting weapons and curtailing Second Amendment rights seems to be driven now by doing it at the smallest level possible, be it municipalities, be it parks and recreation, and that they successfully fought an attempt in Edgewater. And if you should hear of anybody trying to limit gun rights, please speak up, pass the word up to Independence Institute that they need a quick response team out there. That concludes the Center Right Coalition report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atwood. Mr. Griffin, you are up.
Howdy. Been a while since I've been here.
What brings you by?
Mostly nothing, but wanted to report some good news that's going on in southern Weld County. So there was an election just a few days ago that was a tax increase, and actually there were two elections, but in the end, one of them, the same measure had been voted on in November, and the taxing authority immediately put it back on the ballot for the special tax district election. And it failed even bigger than it did the last time. So the first time it failed by about a 10-point margin. This time it failed by over 30%. So, yep. And so I think I had a lot to do with that, but who knows? Anyway, I guess that's the major thing that I'm here to talk about is, the other thing I have with me Tabor Notices. This has turned out to be an incredibly powerful local tool to get tax measures voted down. And the deal is anybody can put in a Tabor notice on a local election. All you have to do is submit it. You can submit anything you want. The news on this past election is there were two against positions put in on the rec center ballot issues, and both of them were prompted through the Libertarian Party. So. He did. And on social media, it turned out to be a really big deal having that Tabor notice, because a lot of the responses, well, there was actually one person on social media who posted a picture of the against position in the Tabor notice and said, just look at the reasons why you shouldn't vote for this. So again, this is a really powerful mechanism to get local initiatives voted on in the way we want. One more issue, there's now I don't know that he wants this known, but in southern Weld County, there's now another Libertarian mayor elected. So that was another thing that went on through the last couple of months.
What town is that?
I'm not going to mention it. It was not.
He lost, and that was for town council.
It was not.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Any questions for Bruce?
Can I get your last name?
Griffith.
Griffith.
What was your question again? Nick? Sure. It's in southern Weld County, and I'm not going to bring up his name because it may hurt what he's trying to do in the town if it's known that if it's widely known that he's libertarian. It's a non-partisan. Yep.
Any other questions for Bruce?
I'll pass around the Tabor Notice.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Now this is a public manners. All right. Has everybody looked over the agenda, and is there any items that you want to add? Going out of order a little bit here. Nothing else needed to be added. Do we have the approval of the agenda? Any objections? Hearing none. Andy was kind enough to get out the board minutes early. Has everybody had a chance to go over the board minutes, and are there any changes that need to be made?
There can't be. Unless I guess they would move too.
Hearing none, we'll go to the reports from our affiliate and development group representatives. Do we have anybody here from Arapahoe County? Boulder. Denver.
Yep. So for Denver, we just held our annual meeting last Sunday. We elected a new board of myself again as chair. Josh Wallen was reelected as vice chair. Tracy Smith was elected as the treasurer, and Justin Savoy as the secretary. We do have one opening on our board for at-large representative. We did make a couple of changes to our bylaws at the meeting. Our next monthly meetup is this Wednesday, the 11th at 6:30, and that's going to be at Atomic Cowboy this month. It's a new location for us. It's also known as Fat Sully's Pizza, and it's the Broadway location.
What's the address? Cross streets.
I can look it up. It's on Broadway. Don't know the cross street.
You're going to have it on the state website?
Yep, it's up there and on our Facebook.
Very good.
What time did you say that was, Kyle?
6:30.
I will speak for Douglas County. Our county chair is back from his leave. He had a medical leave and he is back. He returned yesterday. So Douglas will be up and running again strongly, very quickly. And any questions that you have for him, you can direct to him. I can't answer them, I'm not on board. So, anybody here from El Paso County?
I'm here from El Paso County.
Okay.
John Engel. At our last week's monthly board meeting, Mike Cisco accepted directorship or chairship over a new committee for communications as part of an effort that more members of our board have been trained on for county development, which will involve multiple upcoming fundraising and outreach events. There's going to be another training for that next Tuesday, and we'll also have a meeting for our El Paso County Libertarian candidates and any other candidates from the county to get an early introduction for themselves. That'll be not this coming, but next Thursday.
Good. Thank you, John. Will you be speaking on behalf of El Paso from now on, or just when John Hirschman is not here?
Just for today while John's not here.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody here from Jefferson?
Two of us. Jay, if you want to? There also is a trash pickup on Colfax scheduled for Sunday, May 22nd.
Thank you. Anybody from Mesa County? Pueblo County? We really don't need to have Weld on here. Okay, reports from LNC representatives. Ms. Harlos is not here, so she will not be able to speak. She's not an LNC representative, but she has her thumb on what's going on. We'll go to the board reports next. I have nothing further to add to my report. Vice Chair, Hannah, you have anything? Treasurer. Secretary.
Nothing further to add.
Tell us about the upcoming deadlines that we have on the agenda.
Those would be in the April minutes, and I don't have them pulled up right now, but there's nothing for the next couple of months.
Nothing coming up, okay? Affiliates.
So the Boulder affiliate is in trouble, and they need some at least one new leader to join them in the next couple months in order to keep the affiliate alive. Pretty much they're down to the current chair, and he hasn't really been holding meetings the last few months. I reached out to another member in Boulder, and him and the current chair and myself are going to be meeting on this Thursday, the 12th at 7:30 at Trident Booksellers, and that's in Boulder. And we do appreciate anyone else who wants to help us and wants to join us for
Would
that.
you send that event out to the board?
Yep.
If I'm able, I'd like to make that.
I'll send out an email.
Yeah, what's the date of it?
It's Thursday, 12th, this Thursday.
Okay, I'm gonna be out of town, so I won't be able to make it. Still send it out to the board if you would, please, Colonel.
And one other thing to add in my report is Decriminalized Nature is currently collecting signatures to try to get on the ballot for November to decriminalize all entheogenic plants and fungi. And they just held an event this Saturday, kind of to kick off their campaign to gather signatures, and they need some volunteers to help with that signature gathering process. So if anyone is interested in that, reach out to me. I can be hooked up with the campaign. And also for anyone who is here, I do have a petition for anyone who wants to sign for that.
You have it in Boulder County sign it?
No, it's for the whole state.
Okay. Anything to add to your report?
That was it.
I have a couple questions for you. I know you've had a very difficult time reaching the folks at Pueblo. We need to find out what's going on. You sent emails. You know that email address is even correct?
I mean, yeah, they responded, but it hasn't bounced back. It's,
You guys know?
we're still going through. I believe we do have some number, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you, if you would come to reach out to them by phone, because it's possible we don't have the correct email address. Maybe that's part of why we're not getting anything back from them. Because that's an active group. And we need to, one, get on the meetup, get on the same page, get them everywhere.
Yep.
There was, in your report, there was some information that Adams County is getting close to up and running as soon as they have a couple more regulars to come, and that's exciting. What's happening with Larimer right now with Kevin?
He's taken a step back in terms of trying to lead that group. We currently have a if Nick Lance is on the line, he might know the name of the guy.
fellow that I had before Aaron is no longer with that group. He moved to the East Coast, and I don't know what he's doing right now, so I don't have anybody at this point. Next question I have for you, Kyle, is what's happening in Weld County? It doesn't sound like Bucky's really running with this.
No, he's stopped doing that as well. They don't really have any group that's meeting necessarily, although I think a couple of people from Weld might sometimes go to those northern Colorado meetups, and they're usually in Larimer.
Bruce, was that something you still had an interest in, helping form a affiliate up in Weld County?
If I can get somebody more than me and it's not a social club, absolutely. And there's a lot of momentum right now.
I know there is.
Particularly.
Sorry, please identify yourself. All right, one moment here. All right. Next, we have campaigns. Anything to add to your report? All right, thank you. Communications. Looks like our exposure is increasing, especially on
What's that?
the one that I'm not on, social media that I'm not on. Twitter, yeah. And that's been significant. My hat's off to you. Great job.
What's the other one?
That's great in such a short amount of time. Fantastic.
What's the other one? Therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep that ball rolling. All right, fundraising. Legislative. Okay, sounds like you were, in your report, you were somewhat active in helping both Larimer and Weld counties up there. If you have any people that you think might have an interest in helping, would you reach out to Kyle and get their information to him so that he can follow up with that? Beautiful. Thank you, Nick. We do not have a membership.
Southern Weld, yeah, absolutely. And I have a couple of ballot initiatives that I want to put in for local government in Southern Weld. And I think they'll pass.
Great. Kyle, would you reach out to Bruce and see if we can get collaboration of people together? Maybe we'll reach out to Bucky and do another meeting if he's involved and introduce some of the other people that might be interested in getting involved. And I'll try to make it to that meeting if I'm able.
He did respond to me and just said he was pretty much taking a step back from it all.
That's going to be his call, but we got some contacts up there that probably would be of value that we were not starting from scratch again. All right. Outreach. Outreach. Membership, forgive me. All right, thank you. All right. Mr. Atkin, do you have anything with the database you want to talk about?
Yeah. I have this little form here that if you are collecting signatures, you can validate the signatures at the time you collect them. You can ask people do you know where you're registered to vote? And if they scan this QR code, it takes them directly to the Secretary of State's website where they can look up their information and make sure that they're writing down their right name and their right address. So if you want a copy, please let me know.
Thank you, David. Is that something that you could scan and email to the board?
I'll have something to say after being able to analyze the recording for next month. And I've also got a sort of static recording going on in case the stream recorded quality is not good. We'll be able to post that as a backup. It does look like there's some streaming throughput issues, which will need investigating, but again, we've got that backup issue, or that backup recording to use in case it's not good. I did also, David, I got the list from you of the email accounts that need deleting. Unless anybody objects to that, I'm going to go ahead and clean those up.
That is on the agenda for tonight.
We get that in the new business, so we'll be discussing that. Thank you, John. All right. Committee reports. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Mr. Chair, if I could real quick. John, I'd just like to say thanks for, I know you took some time outside of this meeting to make sure everything was set up and good to go after we had some challenges last time. And everything was quick this time. So thank you, P-roll.
Yeah, please, man.
I just wanted to acknowledge that because I know it was a pain in the ass last
Right.
time.
I appreciate it. Yes, it was. All right, committee reports. Mike Seebeck is not able to be here. He does say that he has, right after convention, they're going to be rocking and rolling to knock out the style committee items that need to be addressed. So that will start right after the Reno convention. Convention committee is Karen Ann, but she's not here. And the merchandising committee, is Mr. Kane still involved in that? Do you know, Andy?
Sure. I don't know who the active.
I don't think he is, but it's on the agenda here. So we need to clean those up. All right.
We need to figure out, I'll add a note, figure out what the status of this is.
Let's go through the agenda, you and me, next couple of weeks. All right, we have no unfinished business, so we'll get into new business right now. And there's 5 items on here that we need to discuss. First one is the PRA discussion. Aaron, have you had any responses to that email that you sent out? Okay, well, I'm going to have a discussion with Mr. Bruce this week. Hopefully he'll be able to talk to me this week. I'm getting a lot of pushback on the fact that you have to do 300 a week to get paid at all. And I'm going to persuade him to change that to 300 a month. There are people who have full-time jobs and families that can't devote the time to collect 300 signatures in a week. And he's of the opinion that you can do that in 6 to 8 hours. I've collected signatures on multiple occasions, and that's impossible. So I'm going to be talking to him and see if we can get that changed, because there are some people that would like to do it, but they don't want to do spend the effort to do 200 and then not be able to get paid on any of them. Now, I know this is a fundraising opportunity, but it's also an opportunity for maybe college people or people that are retired to make some extra money, and we want to make it possible for them to not waste a whole bunch of time if they don't get to that end goal of 300 a week. So I'm going to be go ahead, Aaron. As far as I know, he is. I'll try to pin him down, Aaron. I'm sorry I don't have an answer for your question right now, but I'll try to pin him down this week when I talk to him and get more details on what he's doing. Unfortunately, I just don't have the answer at this point. You bet. Thank you, Nick. Any other input on the PRA? If you guys come up with any ideas, please send me an email to that effect so that I can take that with me to speak with Mr. Bruce. All right, next one. As you're all aware, Colorado is now in a new region. It is not yet numbered, so we don't know what number it's going to be yet, but there are 5 states: Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Colorado, and
Idaho.
no, Idaho's not. They're not tied to any region. Forgive me, I'm drawing a blank on the 5th one. Within our regional agreement, I sent you all a copy of it. I hope you've had a chance to read it. The state chairs are considering bringing in other states if they want to petition us, but it has to be a unanimous vote. We don't want to be weighed down by a bunch of states that are going to be going against our interests or aren't going to do anything, but they want to vote on everything. So we're going to be very selective as to what states we're going to allow in. Idaho is one of the states, Bruce, that we have considered because they are regionless right now. They haven't been in a region for over 10 years. Also, Alaska has indicated an interest in wanting to join us, and I think they'd be a pretty good fit. Other states, I don't know right now where Utah stands. At first, they were saying that they wanted to join us, and now they're saying that they may want to join California. I'm not sure. But we'll see where that goes, and I'll keep everybody apprised as we get closer to that point. But I got to tell you, I'm real excited about the new region that we have started. We're going to be able to choose a decent regional rep this time and not be burdened by the reps that the other states have voted in that have been diametrically opposed to what Colorado stands for. And this is something we put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So I'm excited about it. Does anybody have any questions about this effort? Hearing none? All right, next thing I want to talk about is financial support for candidates with winnable races. The state party has never, at least in my history, financially backed any financial candidates because we always felt as though we'd be picking winners and losers because we can't give to everybody or else everybody get $10. So I think that our fundraising is going strongly enough right now that it might be time for us to belly up to the bar and put our money where our mouth is and support some of the candidates that have winnable races. That could be 2 candidates, it could be 4 candidates. But we don't want to throw money into a race that is not very possible for us to win. And I think, in my mind, I'm going to make a motion to set $6,000 aside for candidates that are in winnable races, and if this passes, then we'll decide how we decide who those people are. So do I have a second on that? All right, now's the time to discuss it, guys. Go ahead and throw your hat in. I can't see, those of you that are not on a computer, I can't see when you raise your hand. I only see Mr. Atkin here with his hand raised, but go ahead, David.
What is your criteria for what is a winnable race?
Well, that's what the committee will have to decide. So I would say, in my opinion, that would be a race, especially when we have only one, like either a Democrat or a Republican running against our Libertarian candidate, or if we have a Libertarian candidate that has a pretty good track record and the other candidates aren't so good, and we have a candidate that's willing to put the time and money into it. But obviously, if this passes, David, this will be something that the committee would determine. And this is going to be something I want the board to be kind of hands off. I want the committee to handle, come up with criteria, make the decision on those candidates that they feel good about, and you know, let's get some money in their pocket and help them. And we can help them in other ways as well. If we have candidates that are in potentially winnable races, we can help them if we know people that can do, as Aaron referred to, graphic design, or maybe somebody owns a print shop. But we need to get people involved that can help the candidates in any possible way. And like I said, this is unprecedented. The state of Colorado has never done this since I've been around. David, did they ever do it in the history way back?
I think a candidate named, geez, I can't remember her name now. She was a doctor, lived in Jefferson County, ran for state rep and raised like $10,000 or something like that, and got 7%, I believe. This is back in the 90s.
Okay. All right. So once again, it hasn't been done in a long time, but I'm a fan of this. But let's talk about it. If anybody has any concerns or if they feel strongly about it one way or another, let's hear your comments now. Okay, I saw a hand up. Mr. Atkin?
Yes, it's been my experience that without a voter base, meaning having the number of registered libertarians similar to the D's and R's, it's not a winnable race.
Well, the fellow up in Wyoming that won, that was 90% Republican. He won. So I would have to say maybe sometimes you're right, Mr. Atkin, but I don't think that's the case all the way around. Mr. Atwood, you have some input. If we don't have any objection, we'll have Mr. Atwood speak. Go ahead.
Wyoming is part of the Frontier Project.
Right.
It was Apollo Pizzelle. I feel money ought to be sent in both Marshall's direction and Apollo's direction. They are winners. I think Bruce is a winner with his initiatives and would like to see him getting money. I am very suspicious of any other races. I concur with the chair that unless it's a two-person race, it's not worth putting in Libertarian group dollars, and that this is why I'm pushing approval voting, is because it moves us beyond two parties.
Thank you, Mr. Atwood. Anybody? Mr. Kaczynski?
Mr. Chair.
Well, the motion was for $6,000, and it would be up to the committee to decide how to distribute that, whether it's one candidate, four candidates. They can decide how much to give each one of the candidates. I really want to have that handled by the committee. Not that I don't want to have some input, because I do have some experience in my own race, as well as helping other people with their races. But this is something that would be decided by the committee if this motion passes. Well, that's, once again, I agree with you, Gavin. That's what the committee would be charged with, is making sure that the money is spent in a way that's going to bring us back a return, not just make some candidate feel good because he can afford to send out a flyer to four of his neighbors. So we need to make sure that we spend the money wisely. Andy, you had an input?
I was just going to ask if you could state the motion.
Okay, I made a motion to spend $6,000 to support candidates in winnable races. And if that passes, the races will be determined by committee. It has not. There was no sense to form it until we got this passed. Once we've committed to the money, then we need to put the committee together, and that's actually, Aaron, the next item on the agenda. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Nick. Thank you, Mr. Lance. We have Mr. Griffith here without objection. We'll let Mr. Griffith speak. Go ahead.
I was going to recommend that, not being on the board, I can't make a motion, but I would suggest an amendment that would be, rather than a clearly winnable election, to be one with clearly identifiable strategic objectives.
Somebody here on the board, would you like to make that amendment? Bruce can't do that, but he gave a suggestion. Would you restate it for Andy, please? Okay, so your amendment was to change the language from clearly winnable races to the most strongly,
With clear strategic objectives.
with a clear, beautiful, Andy, a clear strategic objective. Okay, good. Any further input? Thank you, Bruce, that was good. All right. We are now voting on the amendment, and that's to change the language from winnable races to races with a clearly,
May I have a second?
yeah, one second here, Frank, let me finish my comment here. That have a clear strategic direction. All right, go ahead, Mr. Atwood.
I would like this committee, if possible, to do a history of how candidates have performed versus money spent on their races. And so that we know from past history what has been possibly a winnable race to be able to better project what might be future winnable races.
Well, I hope those of you that are here, that are on the board, that heard Mr. Atwood's input there, I happen to agree with that because we had a very good candidate up in CD2, which included Boulder. It's been districted differently now, but Roger Burris, and he put a lot of his, $100,000 of his own money into it and gave full-time effort. And he was a very strong candidate. And I told him that he probably didn't stand much of a chance in Boulder County, and he only got 4%. So I think that it's important that we look at the areas that the money would have the best effect, either in education, like Mr. Lance brought up, or simply in getting the candidate support to possibly get them elected. So if there's no further input, we're ready to bring this to a vote. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, we're just.
1 second, Gavin, you had a question, Andy?
Just to make it clear to everybody, we're only voting on the amendment right now, and we have to do
We
that.
will be when we take it to a vote. Go ahead, Mr. Okay.
I thought you might.
So the amendment is just to change the language, and that's what we are voting on right now. Would you like to take a call on this, please, Mr. Secretary?
Can you ask if anyone objects first? Because we can just do it without objection.
Yeah, I guess we could do that. Any objections? Hearing none, the amendment passes. Now, would you reread the entirety of the motion, and this is what we will be voting on next?
Spend $6,000 to support candidates with clear strategic objectives. The races will be determined by committee.
Okay. Go ahead, yes, you can. Ms. Goodman, can you tell me how that would work more gracefully than a committee, because maybe I'm not sure what your thoughts are. Okay. Andy, would you read back that amendment as you have it recorded?
So to spend $6,000,
Just the amendment.
the races will be determined by the Trello board.
Is that sufficient for your needs, Ms. Goodman? Any discussion on that?
We need a second, right? We need a second.
Meeting order. If we get discussion, we have a second. All right. Andy wants a formal second, so I'll go ahead and ask for a second. Is everybody aware of what we're asking for here? This is to change it from. Yes, you can, because we didn't get a formal second. So, okay. Thank you, Ms. Goodman. All right, we are back to the original proposal. Does everybody remember that, or do you need to have that restated again? We are putting $6,000 aside to be spent on races that we feel are strategically important. That's actually what I said, but I don't know if it's recorded. That's how it was originally stated. Okay. Is everybody ready to put this to a vote? Do we?
I-
Go ahead, Kevin. Okay, we're not there yet. We got to decide on the $6,000 first. Once we decide on the $6,000, then we can decide on the committee. That's the next item of business.
Mr. Chair, I think we are there though, because if we're saying it's being spent by a committee, we're then obligated to do it by a committee and make rules about that.
We have to determine how to determine what the, how to pick the committee, and that's the next item.
I
of
just mean like
business.
the framework of like how it would be done by committee is relevant though.
Next item of business. So,
It's really.
Gavin, is your question answered? Mr. Kaczynski, is your question answered? Yeah, I guess there's a little confusion here, guys, and I'll take responsibility for that. My motion was simply to set $6,000 aside, and then if that passed, then we would determine how then to select a committee. That would be the next item of business. So right now, it has been added that we would put the language in the original motion that it would be determined by committee.
I think we should workshop this.
That's the language that Andy has, is that correct, Andy, up to?
Up to $6,000 to
Yeah.
support candidates.
Yeah, that's the language we have right now. That doesn't mean we have to spend it all, but if we have the money set aside, we may as well, if we have somebody that looks like, we have an extra $500 left over and we have somebody that we feel very strongly about, I see no reason that we can't just up the contribution to their campaign. Doesn't mean we have to spend it all, but I'm reasonably certain that $6,000 doesn't go very far. I spent $7,500 for my town council race myself, just for town council. So $6,000 isn't a lot of money. So we're back to the main motion. Do we have any objections?
Yes.
We have an objection? Go ahead and state your objection, Andy.
That just means we get like, when you say objection, it just means we have to vote, right? Like you're saying,
Yeah,
again, I don't have to state my objection, I just have to say I object and then we vote.
well, you do it that way. You just want to vote?
Yeah.
You want to take a roll call? Okay, that's fine. All right, we're going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. Are you ready, Mr. Secretary?
Give me 1 second, this will be the first one of these I've had to do in real time. I'm ready.
All right.
So we'll go Vice Chair. Secretary, I will abstain until the end, if it's necessary.
You pass?
Or you pass, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Kaczynski? We're voting on the full motion. Mr. Fury?
I missed the motion, I guess.
So the motion on the floor is to spend up to $6,000 to support candidates with clear strategic objectives. Those races will be determined by committee.
Yes.
Mr. Marinovich? Mr. Loria? Ms. King? Mr. Lance? Mr. Siesco? Okay, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. And then 1, 3 yeses. So,
Okay, that fails. Would somebody like to make a new motion? Because it sounds like everybody's in favor of the idea. We don't have time. The candidates need to start preparing right now. So your idea is fine, Nick, but I don't think we have the time. That was the purpose of the committee, in my mind, is for the committee to make all those decisions. Draw out all the processes and everything else. I really didn't want to see the board obligate the committee other than doing their job and doing it as they see best. That was my original intent. But it sounds like we're all in favor of this, so let's get another motion on the table and get it started again.
I think I would prefer to do this by email.
This is too big an expense to do an email.
You don't, the board gets to decide that.
No, it doesn't. You haven't read the bylaws yet.
I have read the bylaws. What the bylaws doesn't.
Okay, we're having a discussion here as to whether this is something that could be handled on an email vote. Now, we can certainly have an email discussion, but to spend $6,000 is something that we can't do on an email vote. That is way too much money. If it was $1,000, I'd say, all right, we're right on the edge, we're right on the cusp of it being okay, but I'd probably go along with it. But now with $6,000, that's a lot of money. Well, that was the entirety of the purpose of the committee. Ms. Goodman, maybe I didn't state my case very clearly, but that was the entire reason that I wanted to have the committee, was to make these type of decisions. And as an example, if you were on the committee and you said, well, I feel very strongly that Mr. Lutz will put the effort in because he can make the time, he's willing to put the effort into it, and he's in a spot where we have two unknown candidates running against him, he stands a pretty good chance. And then the committee would discuss it amongst themselves and decide, yeah, we want to support Daniel. We'll see how many other candidates we actually feel the same way about, and then let's figure out how to divvy up the money. That was my thinking in putting it to committee. Did that answer your You're talking about somebody other than the board? Or who are you referring to? Okay. So you feel as though the board should make the decision rather than a committee as to what candidates we support? I know, I agree. Mr. Kozinski, you have your hand raised. All right.
Nobody can motion. You.
Hold on a minute. Who's speaking here? All right, go ahead, Nick. We can if you're comfortable with that. That's perfectly acceptable. So you can make a motion, or you can move to set $6,000 aside for candidates, with the process to be determined by the board, and that we can do by email. Is that something that is acceptable to you, Nick? I'm going to go ahead and put this motion in your name. Do we have a second on? Go ahead, Aaron.
You don't motion, you move.
Any further discussion on that? All right, guys, if there's no further discussion, we'll put it to a vote as soon as Andy's ready. Oh, Andy, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna want to amend. Can you restate the last sentence, Aaron? So right now I have Ms. King moved to set aside $6,000 for candidates in winnable races or who have stated objective strategic goals. The method for spending this money will be determined by the board. Is that what is determined in a written process by the board? Okay. Awesome, okay, so the motion, I don't need to amend. The motion as stated is, Ms. King moved to set aside $6,000 for candidates in winnable races or who have stated objective strategic goals. The method for spending this money will be determined in a written process by the board.
Do we have a second? I think I heard a second before. Gavin, did you second that? Okay. Any further discussion? Any objections? That passes. Now, guys, the rest of the details on this can be determined by the board through email. And we can hash out the ideas back and forth until we come up with an idea that's acceptable to everybody. But it was the amount that we couldn't do by email, not the process.
Point of parliamentary
Go
inquiry. Is that in our standing rules? Because it's not in the, email ballots aren't even in the aren't even in the bylaws.
They're in the bylaws, but very peripherally. And the bylaws have to be cleaned up when it comes to email votes. Guys, when the bylaws were written and passed by the delegates over the last 4 or 5 years, excuse me, 4 or 5 years, it was agreed by the entirety of the board that we could use email for voting on certain things, but they could not be substantive. When we say substantive, we're talking about either a large amount of money or something that's going to change the direction of the party or anything like that. But we can certainly hash out all the details on this and how to put it all together by email. The substantive part is behind us now. That's passed. So I'm going to go ahead and put out an email here in the next couple days. And frankly, I'd not like to take charge of this. Is there somebody that would like to take the ball and run with this? I had a feeling it was going to be you, Jacob. All right, Jacob. Right. Would you put the email together then, please? And this is just a discussion on the email. We're just trying to get all the ideas out on the table and see if we can kick out the bad ones and give a hooray for the good ones, and then hopefully come to an agreement that everybody likes. Great idea on putting that together that way, Nick. All right, next item we have here is to review the emails to be deleted. And David, do you want to speak on that?
Sure. Let me present the list to you guys. Okay. Can you all see this list?
Yes.
Okay. I went through these accounts, and some of them have emails in them, but all of them have not been accessed in several years. So I'm assuming that any emails in there are basically worthless and can be deleted. I have not looked at any of the old emails.
Is this the entirety of what we have that's not being used right now, David, or there's some more?
I think this is pretty much it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make the motion. If you can all see on your screen, there looks like there's about 10 or 11 email addresses that haven't been used in years that we're paying for right now. And so I'll make the motion that we scrub these emails off of our system so we can save some money. Do we have a second on that? Any discussion? I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't understand your question. Say that again.
I do not know if there have been any emails received by any of these addresses. I do know that nobody's looked at them in 5 or 6 years.
Correct. Mr. Atkin, may I ask you a question? On any of these that we get rid of, and we have a need that we feel that email address would be good if we wanted to put it in place and have somebody monitor it, could we always add it back?
Sure, I think so. I don't
Seems
see
to me
why
like
not.
that makes this easy. All right, any more discussion?
Always add it back.
Andy, you had something you wanted to add?
Just that we could always add them back very easily if we